I want to go to the StreamYard Maker hotline here and talk to Susie Pinto of the News Nation. And there's a new video that just came out a couple days ago on her video channel called One Nation. Well, News Nation channel, One Nation Under God, called Inside Nigeria's War on Christians. You know, we have been covering this here on the channel for years, since there have been Christians in Nigeria, basically. We're going all the way back to 2016 when we talked to Dr. Philip Nyomanji, who is one of the leading crusaders out there. He's a Catholic, and he was on with Michael Hitchborn, and we heard about all the horrid things that are being done in Nigeria. They continue to this day. And I want to welcome Susie. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Mike. I'm doing well.
So a quick little bio on Susie. Susie used to work at EWTN and then at the Vatican News Agency, and now at News Nation. So you're young in your career. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. I was lucky enough to be able to work at the Holy See press office some years ago. So I do have some experience in covering religion, religious issues. But, here at News Nation, we're really dedicated to, first of all, unbiased news and covering stories that the media has ignored and dismissed. And we saw a lot of chat online about the situation of Christians in Nigeria. So we decided that we wanted to talk to somebody on the ground and just go in and investigate and hear what was going on firsthand. Mike, you might have heard even Bill Maher calling attention to the slaughter of Christians in Nigeria. And, he pointed out that he's not even a Christian, but the media has ignored this issue that Christians are being killed and have been. And actually, Bill Maher called it a genocide. So we wanted to talk to somebody on the ground. So we went through a faith-based group, Open Doors, who connected us with an amazing human rights lawyer, Jabez Musa, who is doing, who is defending Christian women and girls in Nigeria. And he described the situation as dire. He said that Christians are afraid for their life and that the violence against them that's being committed by mostly Islamic militants is affecting, every aspect of their life. He really described a situation that is so sad, and he's calling on the United States to help.
No, I watched your interview, Susie, and one of the things that I was blown away by, first of all, you got to, geographically speaking, for people that don't know, Nigeria sits on the coast, on the western coast of Africa, just below where it goes here. And if you draw a straight line across, it's where the great coffee plantations are in South America, fertile and rich. There's no problem with any resources in Nigeria. And Susie, thanks to your interview, I didn't know when you asked Jabez about Nigeria and he gave you the rundown, I'm going like, 227 million people live in Nigeria. Before you asked him that question, did you know that?
I did not know that. No, I'm not an expert in Nigeria. And, that's part of the reason. That's why we wanted to contact, we wanted direct contact with someone on the ground, because Americans don't hear a lot about Nigeria in the media. We don't know what their situation is. We don't even know, he gave a great snapshot of Nigeria as being, he called it the engine of West Africa. Obviously, it's the most populous country in Africa and one of the world's biggest oil producers.
Sure is.
So he did a great job of describing why it's so important, why Nigeria, the impact that Nigeria has, first of all, on West Africa, but also on all of Africa and the world. And that this country that is such a, an emerging economy, a leader in so many ways, how they are failing when it comes to human rights and to protecting vulnerable populations, including Christians. So, I think it is very interesting. And, the media we don't really hear much about Africa in the Western media. And, that should change. I think we need to open up and, of course, the world is a very interconnected place nowadays, and it's a smaller world. And the media needs to do a better job of covering these kind of stories.
Well, I would tell you, think about, you did hear a little bit about Nigeria, thanks to USAID and all the skimming that was going on. Watch the movie Poverty Inc. and you'll learn all about it. But here's the thing in your interview that I was struck by, and I counted. I took notes. I was struck by 3 times you asked Jabez Musa. You asked him, well, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? What can we do to help? 3 times. What was his first answer? Pray. He said pray 3 times, and I'm going like, okay, this is a real Nigerian, real citizen. And then he said pray 3 times, and then I'm sure that I could see the expression on your face when you asked him. So just tell the audience, when you asked him, are Christians afraid to the point where they're not worshiping in public? He said
that that has not affected the faith of Nigerians.
Right.
Said that it's made their faith stronger, which was such an impressive answer. And no, they don't stay home. They risk their lives to go to church, to worship, and even though their churches, he described churches that are bombed out, that are burned, that are destroyed. But no, it doesn't make them not practice their faith. And he said that this persecution, this violence has only made their faith stronger.
And the other thing that he said in the interview, and you find the interview on YouTube on Susie's One Nation Under God under News Nation right there on YouTube. The other thing that I was struck by is, and people need to know this, Susie, the government of Nigeria could kick these people out. The government of Nigeria is basically refusing to act. They're like, oh, see no evil, hear no. They're basically doing nothing about this when, in fact, and they have been implored. The international community has implored them, and again, Musa he basically said, when you asked him what President Trump could do, I thought his answer was instructive. What did he tell you?
He said that he would like the United States to put Nigeria on the list of a country of particular concern, basically countries that the U.S. State Department designates as violating human rights and, in this case, religious freedom. And he wants that Nigeria to be put back on that list. Nigeria was on that list in the first Trump administration. During the Biden administration, it was taken off that list. So Jabez Musa is urging President Trump to put Nigeria back on that list, which will help apply pressure to the Nigerian government. And so basically, which is so interesting right now, it is up for debate in the Congress. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas has proposed a bill that would hold Nigerian officials responsible for the violence, for what he calls Christian massacres. And so right now, Senator Ted Cruz is promoting that bill and urging his fellow senators to bring it to vote and to make sure that there is some accountability for Nigerian officials, because they are not intervening. They are not, what Jabez told me is that when these attacks happen, mostly in the north, now they're starting to happen in the central region of Nigeria. But basically, they call, the army, they call the authorities, and they are slow to react. And sometimes they don't come. They're inefficient. They're not really reacting. So what Senator Ted Cruz and other members of Congress are asking is for Nigerian officials to protect these vulnerable populations and, otherwise face consequences.
Susie Pinto of News Nation and One Nation Under God YouTube show, and I guess you have a podcast element as well.
Yes, yeah. So One Nation Under God is a podcast that we do on News Nation. You can find One Nation Under God on the News Nation YouTube channel, and basically what we do is we cover stories of faith. We'd like to, a lot of times the media has ignored stories of faith or not taken faith seriously, but we do, and we tell the stories of all faiths of Americans. So I would encourage all of your viewers to check us out, check out News Nation, check out our YouTube channel, and we are doing great things in the media space. So please check us out.
3.4 million people have. So let's continue. I have some more questions. Okay. American liberals were all interested in this, Oprah Winfrey and the like, when Boko Haram kidnapped those poor girls and held them hostage and killed a bunch of them. Now, in your conversation with Jabez, you asked him about Boko Haram, or he actually brought up Boko Haram.
Yes.
And apparently, I didn't know this, Susie, apparently Boko Haram still has hostages.
Yes, I thought that was so interesting because, of course, yes, as you said, there was a ton of media attention. That was in 2014. 276 schoolgirls were taken captive. Now, Jabez updated me and said that over 80 are still in captivity, and we haven't heard about them. That story has been sort of dropped. The media dropped that story. But Jabez reminded me that over 80 are still in captivity. And, he said that Boko Haram still has a very strong hold on the northeastern region of Nigeria. So, yeah, that's a story that those poor girls are still in captivity. And all these years later, we don't know what their fate is.
Well, and okay, let me fast forward to today. So I looked this up for our interview. September the 19th of this year, Father Matthew Iya was killed in what appeared to be a targeted assassination in Nigeria. An abducted priest was killed in March 2025. Father Sylvester Okechukwu was abducted by Muslim extremists in the Kaduna state, and his body was found the next day. So we all know, we've covered these stories here. The National Catholic Register has been on top of this. There have been, the Epic Times has been, if you're looking for news coverage, News Nation, you guys have covered this. Christmas 2024, Fulani militants attacked a Catholic church in Yelawada, the Benue state, over Christmas. Although the cops initially kind of beat them back, the militants killed over 270 people in the undefended town center. So this stuff is ongoing here. And, you were talking to Jabez Musa. I also found it very interesting, and I really felt for the guy. I'm like, hey, man, could I buy you a cup of coffee? Because you had to, pixelate him out for safety reasons. I mean, this guy is literally putting his life on the line just to try and get the word out about what is happening to Christians in Nigeria.
I know, that was so impressive, wasn't it? I mean, this is a very serious matter. This is a matter of life and death for Christians in Nigeria. And our team was really that really impressed us because we couldn't show his face. Of course, we had to be very careful. I'm not in direct contact with Jabez because that also would endanger his life. So I was lucky to find, a great faith-based group that's doing so much good in terms of humanitarian aid in Africa, Open Doors International. And they put me in touch with him. And he was such an articulate, clearly he is, such an amazing professional. He's worked in this space for 2 decades. He described the situation so well, so articulately. And yes, he put his life on the line to talk to us. But that's how important it is to him. That's how important it is to the Christians of Nigeria. He needs the help of the United States. He needs the help of this administration. So we're hoping that this interview, that members of Congress will see it, that, I sent it to Senator Ted Cruz. I know he's been working on this issue diligently. So this is just more information, up-to-date information. Jabez in that interview mentioned that just last week, 10 Christians were killed. So as you say, these attacks are ongoing and it's time. And as Jabez put it, he said the Western media is waking up. Now how we have to see as part of the media I hold myself accountable. That's why I did this interview. I said to my team, and they were very supportive, that we have let's talk to somebody in Nigeria. Let's find out what's going on. It's been several years since it's been sort of in the mainstream headlines. And what we learned was just really such a terrible situation. And I really urge members of Congress to act.
Well, and I concur with you on that. And the program is CPC, right? Concern Protected.
CPC, Country of Particular Concern.
It's one of the international things that we do that doesn't cost us a lot of foreign aid money, but you use the kind of the negotiating power of the United States to say, hey, man, you want to have trade with us? You need to stop that. I'd be surprised. Really, seriously, Susie, I would be very surprised if President Trump learned about this, if he didn't say something. As a matter of fact, I'd be shocked if he didn't say something. I'm going to go back to a part of your interview. Susie Pinto, News Nation, is with us, and the podcast is One Nation Under God, talking about the Nigerians who are Christian Nigerians who are under attack. And this is non-denominational, folks. Doesn't matter if you're Catholic. They don't. These people, the Islamic militants that are practicing Sharia law, do not draw a distinction between what church it is you go to, whether it's a Catholic one or whether it's a Protestant or evangelical. They don't care. You say Jesus Christ is Lord, you're on the list here. So one part about the interview, you asked Jabez, you asked him about what role Sharia law plays in the violence against Christians. Now, there's a guy running for mayor in New York City here, and I don't want to confuse the issues here, but he is an advocate of Sharia law. They're wrestling with Sharia law in London right now, and Sharia law is finding its way into the Western world. Well, if you want to see what happens when it actually finds its way in, look at Nigeria.
Yeah, what Jabez said is that obviously Sharia law facilitates this kind of violence and this kind of discrimination against Christians. He said that Sharia law was put into place in 1999, and the violence against Christians has taken place pretty much since then. So for over 2 decades now. So he did blame Sharia law, and he said that, of course, in the northern region of Nigeria is the Muslim region. Of course, Nigeria is about 50-50 Muslim and Christian.
Right.
The northern region is more Muslim, and the southern part of the country is more Christian. So in the north is where these clashes happen and where this violence takes place against Christians and moderate Muslims as well. I want to point that out, that, Islamic militants also target moderate Muslims, and Muslims also are dying. So we care about all of them, and this really deserves attention. Another very interesting thing I just want to go back to, Mike, is that he pointed out that if our audience will recall that a lot of Islamic militants, ISIS, were eradicated from Iraq, from northern Iraq, and from the Middle East in 2017, 2018. And Jabez made the very interesting point that they basically came to West Africa and sort of their operations, they sort of changed their operations to Africa and West Africa. And so groups like Boko Haram and even ISIS are thriving there. So and that's of course we don't hear as much about that, but they did regroup, reorganize, and they are still carrying out that violence.
Well, and the point that you made about moderate Muslims, folks, everything you need to know about this, again, it's a great book that I always recommend to the audience, Susie. It's by Bat Yor. It's The Fall of the Rise of Islam Under Eastern Christianity. Read the chapter about the imitude. You don't have to be a Christian to fall under the imitude. And if you get the Sharia laws, they're going to say, well, either you're with us or you're against us. So, you're absolutely right to point that out, that there are Muslims that also don't kind of rise to the Sharia law threshold, if you will. But we just have a couple minutes left. So you asked him, a final question for you, Susie, and thank you so much for your time. I'm flattered that you actually agreed to do this. So thank you. We're honored to have you.
Welcome.
You asked him, what is your prayer to God? What is your prayer to God? What did Jabez tell you when you asked him what his prayer to God was?
It was really beautiful. It was very, very genuine. He prays to God that every Nigerian, Christian or Muslim, can be safe and can have a safe existence in his land. And, Mike, what a simple simple prayer that, Americans, we take for granted every single day, that we have safety, that we can go to our places of worship, that we can express ourselves, that we have freedom of speech. We have to be so grateful. And I think, I think his prayer, the simplicity of it, and that, in Nigeria, every single day, to practice your faith, to be who you are, to be a member of your community, you risk your life.
And it was so refreshing too, Susie. He didn't ask for any money. He wasn't. He didn't say send money in bags of rice. He said send prayers. So I encourage all of you, find Susie's YouTube podcast on the News Nation site, One Nation Under God, and the title of this one is Inside Nigeria's War on Christians. Susie, I hope you'll come back, and thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
My pleasure. Folks, we have to take a time out. We'll see you soon. God bless.